My interviewee prefers to remain anonymous. So, tell me about yourself.
Hello, I am a student, a third-year law student, about to graduate from law school. I am originally from Georgia. And what else did you need to know?
What's your age? And what particular job you plan on going into?
I am 26 and I will be going into banking.
Cool. So, what has your experience been with having to be in school during the pandemic?
It's been interesting because I'm in a 3-year program. Exactly half of my time in law school has been spent online, which was not ideal.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
But it's interesting being virtual for such an experiential sort of degree.
Exactly. So, how do you say that you learned the best? Like, has this being online, like, is that the best way for you to learn? Like, has it impacted the way that you feel like that you study, and that you do you feel like you could be doing as well as you were if we weren't in a pandemic?
I think I would be doing much better if I was not virtual. Like, I know that I am not disciplined enough to be only online classes only. Like, I need that in-person experience to
Exactly.
sort of have my best learning experience. So I do feel like it's been harder. I've worked harder than like I did in person.
Exactly.
To keep up with school. So it has impacted me that way.
Have your professors been understanding with you being in the pandemic and all? Like, do they give you extra time to do your assignments or anything like that?
They say they are, but I don't think they're as sympathetic as they could be.
Okay.
For the most part. So I have professors that go on and on about, yeah, you can, take care of your mental health, but also will have very strict deadlines. Like, I had a professor, I submitted an assignment on time, and because there was some technical error with how I downloaded it, it showed up on her end as blank. So I apologized and I took a screenshot showing that it was done on time.
Exactly.
It was just an error, and I sent that to her, and I still got points off because she was like, we're emulating the real world.
Wow.
So they say they're sympathetic, but I think they're also just wanting to get back to, having that strict structure.
Exactly.
So it's a bit of both. So some swing and are very, very sympathetic and do give you that time, but then I have other instances like that professor where they're kind of like, follow the.
Yeah, we're still like, I don't care. We're still in law school. Like,
right.
Wow. So how was your mental health before the pandemic? Like, how were you feeling before all this stuff happened?
Well, I was still a student, so I was still stressed.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I felt like I was handling it. Like, I felt like I was succeeding in life, I was pretty fine. Like, I had time to take breaks, or I felt like I could relax. But since being trapped in the house, I feel like I do work more, maybe unintentionally, just because I am always sitting. Like, I don't ever have an obligation outside of the house. I feel like I do more work now than I did before, which makes it harder to relax or like not be working or not be anxious. So I do think it has impacted my mental health negatively in that way, because I don't even like going outside, but even I miss outside at this point.
Yeah, just because like you don't have the option anymore.
Right.
So how is it now? Like, do you feel like you're like, do you have any ways that you like make yourself feel better, or like try to make things to how they were before?
I haven't found anything that works. So when I do get overwhelmed, I tend to just take the day off, but I get overwhelmed a lot. So I tend to take a lot more days off than I probably should, which leads to binge productivity, or just like I have concentrated days where I do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's going to work for me. I'm still trying to find that. Like, it's, whether I have a different organization system, or if I, do accountability partners or study groups or stuff like that. So I'm still looking. I don't know. I have no answer to that.
Gotcha. Same here, honestly. So how has the pandemic affected your social life? Like, do you go out at all? Do you and your friends hang out? Like, what's the situation with that?
I I feel like I have been more social recently than I was when the pandemic first started. Because when it first started, I was very afraid of going out because I was like, everyone's contaminated.
Exactly.
And I'm going to catch this disease instantly. So I was a lot more reluctant. But recently, I have been more, likely to go out if it's people I trust who I don't think are, reckless, because I feel like I've traveled more this year than I did all of last year combined.
Exactly. Because,
So-
when things are taken away from you, it's like, I have to do something. Like, you just get stir crazy.
So it's only March, but I have already traveled more now this year than I did last year. So becoming more social.
So has the pandemic made you fearful? Like, do you feel like you're excessively just like scared of everything now?
Not of everything. It has worn off. At the beginning, I was super afraid. Like I wanted to sanitize everything, and I felt like we needed to stock up on stuff because I was like, this is gonna be like the end of the world. Like we need our end of the world bunker with all of our tissue paper and like canned goods. So I was super paranoid at the beginning, but as time went on, we sort of got back to normal. I think I was less afraid. Like at the beginning of the year, the turn of the year, I was kind of like, okay, you can only be so afraid before you have to, just keep living.
Exactly. So do you know anyone with COVID? And how did you react when you found out?
When it was like a huge deal. So in May or April of my spring semester last year, one of my classmates who was my partner, actually, she got it. And it was the first time I know someone with it. And she was fine. So it didn't seem like a big deal because she was asymptomatic because she was young. So at the time I was kind of like, okay, this COVID thing might be frou-frou, because I was like, I know somebody with it. They're totally fine. It is what it is. We're just stuck at home. But then you start seeing the death toll. And people, well, I luckily don't know anyone that's died of COVID. I hope. Yeah, I don't think I know anyone that's died of COVID causes.
Okay.
But you still see the death toll it had in our state. So you're still kind of like, okay, we might be asymptomatic, but people do still die.
Exactly.
So I got a little paranoid and scared from that for the most part.
Yeah, because I know they always update it on the news. That's something that's shown every day.
Yeah.
So do you think things will ever go back to normal or somewhat of a norm? Just not being saying that we can't quarantine anymore, just little things.
I do think it will. I think people are pushing so hard for it to go back to a norm. I can't ignore this is spring break and people treated it like it was a normal spring break, even though we are in the middle of a pandemic, a year into a pandemic. So I think people, once this vaccine starts going around, are going to aggressively try to go exactly right back to normal. And I think there's going to be backlash because not everyone wants the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going to try to flood the streets because they're like, oh, we're safe now. But I feel like there's going to be a spike in cases, as there probably will be from whatever the hell happened in Miami. And I don't think the vaccine's going to be quite caught up to where it needs to be.
Okay.
To have us all protected. I think there's a word for that. There's a word for a critical mass of a vaccine. I don't have the word though, so whatever.
I was about to say I can't think of it either. Do you have any experiences with people not wearing masks, and how did it make you feel?
I mean, a lot. Again, because I've been venturing out more now, because I travel more, you start to see people in other places and how they respond to the virus. So certain places like California was very strict. Everyone had on a mask. But then, we get on this plane to go to Costa Rica and no one's trying to wear their mask. Everyone's got it under their nose or just completely off and they don't care. So I do think it's regional. And of course, you always run into problems with people who, consider it a First Amendment problem, which it's not. It's just a common sense problem. But yeah, I am very consciously, I try to always wear my mask. But I don't think... Yeah, no. I think it's regional.
Yeah.
People particularly.
Because it really, like you said, it really is different in a lot of places. Some places are more strict than others.
Yeah.
Has the pandemic affected you financially? And this can be positive or negative.
I've saved so much money not going out. And well, that depends. I realized I stopped spending money on things like coffee when I don't study outside.
Okay.
When I used to be an outside studier, study at like a cafe or a library, and I'd always buy coffee. And I didn't realize how much I was spending on it until I didn't spend it on that anymore. The problem is that now I spend all day on the computer and I can just spend that money on other things. So I saved money for a little bit, realized I had it, and then kept spending it anyway. So that's about where I am. So I'm about at a sub-zero. I've neither gained nor lost.
It was a 50-50.
Yeah, so I'm about where I always have been with money spending.
So has the pandemic made it hard for you to find job opportunities or opportunities for school?
No, actually, I think the job opportunity I have now was only available to me because they realized they could interview across state lines because it would be virtual. So like if it had not been a pandemic, if we'd been in person, I wouldn't have even seen this posting, right?
Wow.
Because they wouldn't have been looking to interview anyone that didn't live in that state already. So it has been beneficial in that way, that you do get to, I think, attend more and be more present at things that you might not otherwise have gotten to go to, like conferences and networking stuff. So I think it helps to some extent if you know to take advantage of that. But I don't think there's been great communication of all of these opportunities to people to take advantage of.
So how do you feel about the vaccine? Do you plan on getting it?
Yes, I already have an appointment. I am going April 6th to get the first dose. Whichever one, I don't know. They can choose.
And how do you feel about how government officials have responded and handled COVID?
I mean, I think it's been an embarrassment. I think America has shown that they were not prepared to handle a pandemic or anything really of this nature. Girl, I don't want to go into states' rights and the nonsense that is, but like this has truly just shown what a lack of a unified front the United States really are.
Yeah.
Right?
So what do you plan on doing when this virus is more under control? If they can get it more under control.
I'll be working. That's the problem. Like, I feel like this is the most inopportune time of my life for this to have happened, because I spend the last half of my academic career for this degree inside, and then by the time the world opens up, I'm starting my brand new job, so it's not like I can go out and explore and travel and do all this stuff. So I will hopefully be advancing my career and having enough money to then travel and see all the stuff that I couldn't do in school, or would have done leading up to starting a new job. So hopefully I'll save money. That's my goal. I'll pay off student loans. That's my goal. I'll work and I'll pay off loans.
So hopefully that COVID is more under control when you have to move. Do you think that COVID would make it harder for you to move to where you need to be for your job?
I don't know, actually. So I feel like this process is made more difficult just because it is, I'm leaving the state, so it's hard to not want to travel but also want to see where it is that you're living. So that's been the most difficult part. Like, I saw in person where I'd be working for the first time when I went up there, but it's not like the building was open. I just wanted to go and see the physical place. And it was, a very, not an emotional feeling, but it was very, like, satisfying to be like, okay, cool, it's real. Like, because I got the job and I did all the interviews and I did it all virtually, so I had nothing to ground me to the reality of that future.
Exactly.
Right? So getting to drive around the parking lot and see, oh my gosh, okay, these are the doors I'll be walking in, come August, whenever I get to leave the house, hopefully. That made it real, which made it very exciting. But like that, COVID has like made that part difficult, which is like really
like getting to go.
Getting to go and see and be like, okay, where can I eat? Like I'm gonna be living here. Where are the grocery stores? What are what's the city like? What kind of community is this? So that has made it difficult. That part of moving, I'm not excited about, because I've seen the apartment buildings. You have the pictures, but I'm like, who lives there? You know?
Exactly, because you can't. Yeah, like you said, everything is just so closed off now. But I really appreciate you speaking with me today. I really appreciate your experience, and I hope everything goes your way.